Welcome to Unstoppable Real Estate Investing Wealth. My name is Billy Alvaro, aka the Unstoppable VA, former billion-dollar mortgage banker gone bankrupt turned professional real estate investor, where each week you'll learn the tools, strategies, systems, and secrets myself and other highly successful real estate investing entrepreneurs use to start, grow, and scale their businesses, creating massive profits, and how you can too. And we'll teach you how to put those profits to work so you no longer have to. Get ready to finally experience financial freedom and generational wealth. Now let's get started. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Unstoppable REI Wealth. I'm your host, Billy Alvaro, recording this today from my home office, as I usually do in New Jersey. I'm actually pretty excited to interview this gentleman coming on today because he's not just an investor doing deals. This guy is a serial entrepreneur, has a pretty cool background. He's started multiple companies, sold multiple companies. He's gotten into this business, I think, about 4 years ago, and he's doing it out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Matt Simmons, welcome to the show, my man.
Thanks, Billy. It's an honor to be here.
You're looking good, bro. You're looking jacked. I guess your background was something to do with health, huh?
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a part of my life forever, but professionally, I owned a gym for 16 years. Started that when I was 25 years old, and that was a great business for us. My wife came in there at the tail end, but we were open 24 hours a day, and it was about a 45-minute commute from my new house. And so it just got to a point where, I wasn't enjoying it as much. I was spending a lot of time behind the front desk, and an offer came in to buy us out. It wasn't even something I was entertaining at the time. But we sold, and ultimately, with the onset of COVID, it turned out to be the best decision we could have made.
Good for you. You sold right before COVID, man.
Yeah.
Good job. And then tell me, Matt, after that, you had a couple of other businesses.
Yeah. So simultaneously, while building up the business over those years, I kind of had started to really become infatuated with this idea of passive income, which is obviously what ultimately led me to real estate. But and looking for some businesses that I could spin up relatively inexpensively that offered passive income. In 2011, I started up a company called Healthy Heart Vending. And we were one of the first in the area that really concentrated on putting healthy foods in vending machines. And then we created a marketing campaign where we went out to businesses and talked about how, you don't want your employees calling off. You want them performing optimally. You don't want them sleepy, and yet you're filling them with all of this trash all day. Same with schools. So we pitched this to the schools and to some businesses here in Pittsburgh, and it took off. We got into a lot of really good school districts pretty quickly, and we got into some pretty big businesses. That business was going really well. And at the time, there was a company here that wasn't in the healthy heart space, but was doing vending that was much larger than me, and came in and offered to buy up my route, buy all my machines, and, a multiplier on the revenue. So we sold that. And then, kind of looking for my next thing. It seems to be my MO. I've never really been an educational guy. I didn't go to college, just always kind of a hustler looking for my next thing. And Allegheny County here in Pittsburgh, Billy, I don't know if you know this, but it's the second oldest county in the nation. So we have a lot of seniors here. Yeah. And so I was looking at some different niches that could appeal to that, and came up with this idea of Keystone Bath, where we essentially sell walk-in tubs, walk-in showers, chair lifts, all that kind of home medical stuff to senior citizens. And we got some contracts with the state that allowed us to just have more work than we could do, and scaled that up just in a matter of about 18 months, and was approached by a company here that was looking for that state contract, and they bought us out. So from there, I keep getting put out of business, which is a blessing, right? But at some point, I'm like, what the hell am I going to do? So I turned on YouTube and started watching some real estate stuff, and fast forward 4 or 5 years, and here we are.
So interesting on how you've built and sold 3. Congratulations, by the way. I mean, that is fantastic. It says a lot about your personality. Even though you didn't set out to sell them all, you kind of positioned, I guess you were doing something right with your company. If these competitors are coming in, you have been doing something really good with these other businesses, which I'm curious to see what it is, because now you've built this wholesale and flipping company. So it's mostly
we do minimal flipping. We do a lot of buy and holds, but primarily wholesale. And yeah, that's interesting. I think the consensus in this space is that a wholesaling company is not typically a saleable asset. And so much of it is driven by that lead entrepreneur or the one who's kind of the face of the business. And we're trying to get away from that. That was the reason why the gym was able to be sold, was because it had recurring revenue every month. We weren't taking in paid in fulls. We were strictly monthly. And I had a really, really, really good team that I gave some skin in the game that allowed the next buyer to come in and not have to start over at scratch. And then the same was true for the bath business. I had some really key players that I was very generous with. Every business I've had, I've been very generous with my team so as to allow me to take a step back, focus on other business adventures, and more importantly, focus on my wife and children. Now, here with Fifth Avenue Property Group, I have hired a COO, and he's an amazing guy. He's a CMU grad. He's a tech guy. He's a systems and processes guy. And truth be told, I'm just a sales guy. I drive revenue, but I just make a mess. And now having him at the helm, and now basically my only role within the organization is to manage the sales reps, which is what I do best. It's been a great fit.
So how many people do you have in your organization right now, Matt?
14.
Good size. And what's the breakout in the structure? How many on your lead management, acquisitions, operations? Break that out for us.
Yeah. So we have 2 VAs overseas in the Philippines that are doing primarily admin work centered around transaction coordination and a little bit of marketing. But then we have the leads managers. So my wife handles the marketing. She puts all that out. Right now we're spending about $60,000 a month in marketing. My wife is handling that. The phone rings, the lead managers handle those. We've got 2 lead managers handling live answer.
Yep.
And we've consistently all year, we've been north of 90% on live answer, which is crucial. And we've got 1 lead manager that's just pounding follow up all day. So 3 in leads management. Then we have 3 acquisition reps. So they're scheduling the appointments. The 3 acquisition reps are going out on appointments. Our goal is to get each of those reps at least 10 in-person appointments per week. So we've got 3 reps. Then we've got 1 girl doing our dispo, which is essentially an agent, and she is putting the deals on the MLS. We have an assistant who helps her put some deals to our off-market list. We have a transaction coordinator, and then, of course, the COO and myself. I don't think I missed anybody. We also, my COO owned a construction company and a property management company when he came on board. So they're essentially all under the same umbrella, but they're technically not employees of Fifth Avenue Property Group. So within our group there, that's the setup.
What kind of volume are you doing? Talk unit-wise, deal-wise.
Yeah. So this year, I think we'll be north of 300. And I would say of those 300 deals, probably 260 will probably be wholesale. We'll probably keep around 20 or so, and then the rest will flip. But really minimal flips if we can avoid it, because truth be told, it's not our strength. We haven't quite figured it out yet. And we really like the idea of just turning that cash over as quick as possible.
Yeah, well, you and I was speaking offline, and that's a challenge. We got heavily into the construction side this last year, and our cash conversion cycle has just ballooned out, right? When we were doing 80% wholesale, 70% wholesale, those deals were flipping quick, dollars were coming in. But when you change over and you're doing rehab, especially here in the Northeast, it's just a different animal. It's a good business if you could withstand the year and a half that you're going to need in order to build it up and scale it. But that 1.5 years to scale, man, it's cash crunch time, not cash conversion time.
When you do that, Billy, give me an idea on the difference in spread. So if you wholesale a deal, say in Jersey, relative to a full scale rehab, what's the difference in profit on that?
Yeah. So our rule is if we make 50% or greater on the rehab side, and it's not a pain in the ass deal where it's going to be stretched out for, a year of the renovation side, if we're making 50% or greater, we'll wholesale it.
Okay.
And so if it's a deal where, it's $100,000 wholesale or it's 150 rehab, I'll look at them like no brainer. We're going to wholesale this thing. If it's $100,000 rehab, $100,000 wholesale, we're making 210 on the back end rehab. Then I'll look at it and say, okay, it meets the first box. We're doubling our money. But now, is this going to be a permitted job? How long is my cash conversion going to take? Is this going to happen in 6 months, 12 months, or 18 months? That all comes to consideration. And do I have the capacity with all the jobs we have going on? Because if you load them up and they're not going to get done, it's just going to sit. So all that comes into play. And we've been, because the market has changed, considerably here where we're at, New York and New Jersey, we've been finding ourselves in bidding wars like crazy. So we're having to go in and add that value in order to actually make these deals work, to bring the profit in, which is where we got stuck because we just ballooned up on the renovation side. It's working, thank God, but it was literally like 7 to 10 months of just deals bringing them in and not bringing the cash in, and that just it really does hurt your cash cycles.
Yeah, it's one of the things here that we really just don't have that many opportunities. We use a similar formula, but our median home price is just so freaking low that we're never going to pull a massive rehab. Like for us, if we can get $100,000 on a rehab, that's an anomaly. More commonly here with the median home price being in like the mid twos. And truth be told, the average purchase price of our wholesale deals is like 60. I mean, we're more commonly looking at numbers a little more pedestrian than you. We're looking at like, are we going to wholesale it and make 18, or are we going to flip it and make 40?
Right.
Or 45. Right. And for us, that quick turn, it's been great. And it's allowed us, to your point, to be able to scale.
It's velocity of money. I mean, you have to get that cash coming in quickly, right? Why wait if you can bring the cash in? Because it just keeps the engine running quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
for sure.
I want to get into your strategy on your back end, but before I do, just kudos to you, Matt. Like I've interviewed a lot of guys over the last 2 years, and for you to scale as quickly as you have in a 4-year time frame, to be flipping over 300 houses a year, like you're doing something fucking right. The people who are listening have to pay attention to what you're doing, pay special attention to the questions I'm asking and the answers you're giving, because you're doing something right. And I'm going to venture to say it really has a lot to do with obviously your personality and your drive, but you've had 3 successful businesses that you've gotten to really work out how to scale, right? So you've brought your experiences from those last 3 and you brought it into this wholesaling business, which I'm impressed, man. You really scaled it quick.
Thank you. And truth be told, my first year was probably our most impressive year, because I think the one thing that I brought in from those other businesses was just, as you know, a lot of these young guys, they come in and they drastically underestimate the amount of work it takes to get this done. And what I had done by coming through the grind with these other businesses and others that I didn't even mention that didn't go nearly as well, I learned exactly what it took. And so what I did was, in November of whatever year it was that I got started, I started researching wholesaling. I found this guy, Max Maxwell, on YouTube and started binging on his stuff, and Sean Terry and some of these older school guys.
Good guys.
And in January, when I dropped marketing, we dropped, I think, like 30,000 postcards. My first month thereafter, we did $100,000 in revenue, and there's been no turning back since. And a lot of that was because I came into this with the right mindset of how much work it was going to take. And I was already a skilled closer. I had money to spend on marketing. I think so many of these young guys and gals come in and they're hamstrung in so many ways. They don't have basic people skills, let alone in-home closing skills or money for marketing. So now they're trying to maneuver all these JV deals. They're trying to, bandit signs and stuff. And I don't begrudge anybody's hustle, but there are certain steps you can take prior to getting started that can get you off on a quick start. And I see so many kids just jump right into this before they're really ready.
Yeah, you actually looked at this as a business model and you said, holy shit, if I plug X amount of dollars in, it's going to spit out Y. If I structure this thing the right way and systematize it, I could scale it relatively quickly. Let me ask you this. Who is your first hire that you brought in?
So my first hire was an admin. She came in and really organized my life. So I went the first 6 months as a solopreneur, did 59 deals, north of $600,000 in revenue. It was just me.
Close up, brother. Close up.
Yeah. So the good part was, my margins were crazy, right? I mean, I had no team, so my margins were over 80%.
Yep.
And the other good part was I learned how to do everybody's job.
Yep.
So you're doing the marketing, you're doing the leads management, you're scheduling the appointment, you're running the appointment, you're doing the dispo, you're doing the TC. So now when somebody tries to talk shit about just how hard their job is, I've been there, I've done it. In fact, I did it while I was doing your friend's job over there at the same time. And so I've experienced it. But what I was doing was making a disorganized mess. And my wife, who at the time was a full-time nurse practitioner, was coming in the evenings to my office and just trying to get my shit tightened up because I wasn't paying bills. I was just driving revenue, and that's always been my strength. But until I hired an admin to come in and get me a I didn't even have a CRM, get me a CRM, get me a phone system, get my stuff organized. It was a grind. And the second half of the year, the volume continued and she really got me straightened out. So that was my first hire. And that's what I would recommend for most people, assuming you're a decent closer, assuming you have the capacity to sell a deal if you get one under contract. To me, just having somebody keeping you organized, almost like an assistant, is the first step.
Yeah, guys like us with our personality, we need those organizers to make things happen and streamline, and just otherwise it's a clusterfuck, right? I mean, we're just driving revenue and creating chaos all around us. But I don't want to gloss over what you said. You said a couple of really important things that I think the new guys and the new girls who are starting out need to understand. Because you came into this, you didn't have a CRM, you didn't have a process for basically anything. You just knew how to sell, market, and drive in deals, and you'll figure it out afterwards. And that's important, Matt, because a lot of people out there, they try to create the website. They spend X amount of dollars putting together their Podio system or their CRM system. They're making their business cards. They're making the business look good, but they're driving in no fucking revenue. Right. And you went the completely opposite way. You said, I know there's a business. You structure it in your mind, but you didn't wait until it was perfect. You didn't wait to go out there to make sure your systems are all dialed in. You marketed and you fucking closed and you figured it out. You were smart enough to bring in that organizer to then make things happen afterwards. And that's a key point that a lot of people out there don't do. They do the opposite, right? They set everything up perfectly and they get nothing done. They drive in no revenue.
Yeah, for sure. I see it every day. I mentor a bunch of young kids who are, not only trying to start up as real estate investors, but trying to become better fathers, men, and they're in all kinds of different fields of business. And you're right. I mean, I can't tell you how many conversations we have about LLCs and logos and stupid shit. And I'm like, guys, none of it matters. Close a deal, get some money in the bank. We'll figure it out.
Yep. That's the bottom line. I love it. I want to switch gears. I want to go over to the types of deals you're doing, right? So your velocity of money, your cash is coming in pretty quickly. You and I were talking offline. You're not doing, in a sense, traditional wholesaling, and you're also not doing what some know out there as novation. So tell me the types of deals that you're doing and how you're getting these deals done.
Yeah. So, I think in a sense, it's very similar to a novation, but the same idea applies. And that was just that, especially when we started coming into COVID, so many of our cash buyers just dried up for any number of reasons. Either they were scared off or they couldn't get loans, or nobody really knew at that point what the after repair value was going to be. In Pittsburgh, especially, Pennsylvania was one of only 2 states where real estate was deemed non-essential. So we couldn't do a closing. So we literally were completely frozen. And so a lot of my cash buyers, I think, just decided, I'm literally going to have to go get a job or explore something else for the time being. So when our cash buyer list started to dry up, I was hearing around that same time, guys talking about wholesaling on the MLS. And for me, I couldn't wrap my head around why any seller, and this was a limiting mindset, and I've encountered this a number of times in this business, where I convince myself, nobody's going to fucking do that. Like, why would anybody let us put their property on the MLS? Like, at that point, why wouldn't you just call an agent and get top dollar? And then you start to realize that that's trickling down to your team.
Yep.
They sense the same thing you do. And so it wasn't until I talked to a handful of guys, and a few of which were in CG, Jim Zaspel comes to mind. And these guys were like, no, we just tell them that's the way it's going to be. And they say, okay. And I'm thinking to myself, well, who the hell is going to do that? But then So what I did was I got back in the field, Billy. I started going on appointments. And what I came to find was when you drop that low anchor and you tell them, hey, you want to push the easy button, you want as is, you want cash, you want no inspections, no contingencies, $50,000, we can close in 30 days, blah, blah, blah. And they look at you, like you have two heads. And then you say something to the effect of course, there's other options. If you're willing to give me a little more time and a little more access, I could get you more money, but I just wasn't under the impression that's what you were looking for. Is that something you would consider? And all of a sudden, all of those barriers that they have up around, I don't want access. When you tell them $84,000 relative to 50, all of a sudden, well, I guess lockbox doesn't sound that bad when you're talking about $34,000. And so what we've come to the point now is we drop those low anchors. And by the way, every once in a while, somebody says yes, and we buy it. We just keep that one. That's a freaking home run. But more likely than not, they're going to say, that doesn't work. And then you transition into that pitch of saying, well, truth be told, this is such a great house. I don't even know if it's suitable for an investor. We're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole here when in actuality, I think this property is far better suited for a family that could move right in. And we could do that. And if you're willing to give us a little more time and access, we can get you a heck of a lot more money. And it's still going to be as is. There's still going to be no contingencies. And you're still not going to pay any realtor fees. And the response has been north of 90% of the time, the seller opts for the on-market option. And then from there, whether you're doing a novation or wholesaling on the MLS, it's just a matter of mechanicals in terms of paperwork.
Yep.
We do it one way, other people do it another way. But the bottom line is guys like Eric Brewer have opened my mind to what's possible when leveraging the MLS to sell your deals. And it's completely changed our business because not only can we do more deals, these are deals we feel better about because, by the way, we're telling them the truth.
Yep.
This old shit about, we're buying it and I got to bring my contractors through and it's a 70-year-old lady in a Lexus, like, what is she fixing exactly? That's gone. Now it's just all up front. We're going to sell it on the MLS. We can give you more money. And by the way, we make more money. It's a win-win-win. And I've learned to love my business a lot more since we've gone that route.
So I'm going to be asking questions as if I'm a listener saying, all right, Matthew, this sounds great, but how and why would a seller want to list their property? Why don't they just call a realtor? What's your statement to them who are asking that?
Yeah, great question. And I'll be completely honest. There are times when I ask myself the same question. And one of the things I've learned in sales is you never put your own sensibilities on your seller, right? People make decisions all the time that I cannot fathom. But the reality is they called us for a reason. And it's usually because they want limited headaches. They want a quick sale, those sort of things. And so one of the things we offer is we're just calling it a hybrid deal. We're saying, I know you said you wanted all cash. I know you said you wanted a 30-day close. But in the face of what me and the 10 other investors that have come and offered you, is that really what you want? I mean, are you willing to give up this much for that? And if the answer is yes, no one can do it better than us. And we'd love to buy it at that number. But if they're pushing back on price and you're now, like I said, offering 50 and you say, well, okay, so I think we've both come to a reality here, Mr. Seller, that maybe an all cash offer from a cash buyer is not what you want, right? We know now, based on the fact that you've talked to so many investors, that that's probably not what you want. But what's the alternative? Well, the alternative is list it. Well, let's talk about that. And then you go into all the challenges with listing it. You're locked into a contract with a realtor. You're still going to be responsible for paying that realtor, paying all the broker fees. You're going to be responsible for, the response to inspection, to do any repairs that may come up. You're going to be responsible. They're going to want you to clean this out. All of these things. And so what if we could offer you a hybrid model that wasn't quite as convenient as that cash offer and wasn't all the headaches of a retail listing, somewhere in the middle there where we're combining the two, get you a fair price, and we take care of all the inspections. We manage the showings. We pay the realtor, and we do what's best, which is guarantee a smooth transaction for you. And by the way, if you agree to that, we're going to give you a $5,000 guarantee that says if we don't get this thing sold in X amount of time, and that's negotiable, Billy, we're going to buy it ourselves. And so we've been offering that 5K guarantee for about a year. We bought 2 houses. Rarely
over what you're telling them you're going to buy it for. What's
Pardon?
the 5K is what? Over what you're listing it for?
No. The 5K guarantee is just if we don't perform,
You're paying $5,000. Got it.
Non-refundable hand money, basically.
Got it.
And so we have that all over our TV commercial. So if you want peace of mind, call Fifth Avenue Property Group. We're not one of these fly-by-night investors that throws a bunch of shit at the wall and sees what sticks. No, we're going to put up $5,000 that says we're going to perform to get this done for you. So my competition's going in there offering 50 grand because that's the only number that they know they can perform on because they don't have the capacity to put these things on the MLS. And we come in at 84 with a 5K guarantee.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. Yep,
right?
No-brainer.
And rarely do we actually end up closing on these things. So it's just about differentiating yourself, remembering it's not like they called a realtor and you're trying to talk them in to your service. They called a cash buyer. You're giving them the cash buyer option. But when they scoff at that, you say, okay, now what? Are you going to go ahead and rent it? Are you going to fix it up? Are you really going to list it and deal with all of that? Well, here's a hybrid option that we can offer you that kind of gets you best of both worlds. And like I said, it's been overwhelming the number of people that have gone for that.
I love it. It's a great model. We do a lot of listing on the MLS out here. We do a combination. We'll list on the MLS and sell to cash buyers, and we'll list on the MLS and do the innovation model. Are you finding you're doing the same, or are you gearing yourselves towards cash buyers?
No, we're doing the same.
Doing the same.
But we're doing the same without technically doing innovation. We're just literally telling the seller, this is exactly what we're doing. They're signing all the listing paperwork. We haven't had any issues whatsoever. And we then have to put that novation fee, of course, or release fee, in this case, on the seller's side. With a novation, you can't have that fee on the buyer's side because they're not going to fund it. Yep. In this case, we just put the release fee on the seller side. And as long as you're upfront with the seller and you tell them you're going to be making money on it, we haven't had much pushback at all.
So it sounds like a simpler process of novation. You're not going through all the trust documents and power of attorneys and all this other crap. And you're just basically getting a release fee, which sounds ridiculously easy.
It is. However, I will say this. We are not as protected as you are with the novation documents. And we know that going into it. But this is the way we've structured it, and it's worked really well. I wouldn't change it right now.
Yeah, I mean, you got it streamlined. And look, you're going to get bit in the ass every once in a while, just like you have to pay out the $5,000. But really, that's the cost of doing business. If you're analyzing your business, Matthew, which I know you are, and you're able to get X amount % more deals with the marketing that you're doing, saying that you have this $5,000 guarantee, like it's a cost of doing business. You're making more money on the back end. Probably the same thing with these type of innovation hybrid type deals that you're doing. You'll have a couple that bite in the ass. It is what it is.
Exactly.
Great model. Great. So fantastic. And you've been doing this model now for how long? Because you've been open for 4 years.
So we've been doing this for the last 2. Yeah. When Eric Brewer brought Novations to Collective Genius, I started, hitting up guys like Jim Zaspel, Eric Brewer, and many others, and trying to wrap my head around we could do all this. And again, I brought it back to my team, my agent, my broker, and they're like, no one is going to agree to this. And it wasn't until I went on appointments and I started pitching it in such a way that was basically like, listen, I'll be honest with you. This is a great house. Like, I really think this is suitable for a family. It wasn't until we got the pitch down that we all wrapped our head around it. And from there, because we go into it thinking they'd be crazy not to do it, they do it.
Right. I love it. Are you finding the deals that you do in the hybrid on the MLS, are they mainly prettier houses, older houses that don't need a ton of work?
It's all of them. No, I would say it's probably 60-40 older, crappy investment type properties that we're selling to cash buyers.
Got it.
And 40% are livable, move-in ready, conventional finance.
Got it. And how are you handling the inspection items, fixing up that crap? Are you doing the normal, we take care of the attorney, the legal fees, the expenses, you're going to net out your $84,000 and everything else from that point forward is on us?
Exactly right. The only other expense we're hit with is I think we pay the transfer tax on the difference between what we told them they were going to get and what it actually sells for. So if we tell them 84, and so they're now paying closing costs and transfer tax on 84 because that's what they're getting. We turn around and sell it for 125. The title company will dock us the difference there. But otherwise, yeah, we're taking care of everything. But here's the thing. When the market's hot, you're telling the seller, rest assured, this is as is. You have nothing to worry about. We've got construction crews that can handle the buyer's response to inspection. You don't have to worry about it. And then you have a good agent who's going out to the sellers saying, we're not doing shit. It's as is. So the seller's not in a position to take care of anything. And that's why it's priced the way it is. So truth be told, the repairs that we're hit with on the buyer's response to inspection, if it's been framed properly by the listing agent, we very rarely end up doing any repairs. And so we're kind of telling the seller they can rest assured they're not going to have to worry about it, telling the buyer we're not doing anything. If it comes up, we do it. But most times we don't have to. Yeah,
well, it's key. That listing agent you have is the key to making that whole thing work. Are they on your team full-time, or is this like full-time on your team?
Yeah, she's full-time. She's also a broker, and she handles a lot of dispo off market as well. So she's very valuable.
Yeah, she's your dispo girl you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Smart, man. I freaking love the model. I want to switch gears a little bit. I want you to go into your personal development, right? Because I was looking at your bio, what you sent over, and guys like us were heavily into personal development. I don't know if I read this correctly, but did you take a year off, like a sabbatical, and do like some serious? Yeah.
So, I don't know if I would call it a sabbatical, and I don't know if I would say it was necessarily that intentional. But as I said, I sold these businesses. And truth be told, from a financial standpoint, I was in a really good spot. I was in my early 40s. I'm 48 now. I was in a really good spot financially. My wife was a full-time nurse practitioner, so she had our health insurance covered. House was paid off. Life was good, but I was young and trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. And I didn't want to just jump back into the corporate world. That's never been my thing. And I just didn't have any bright ideas as far as what I wanted to spin up, because when I sold that last business, I thought I was going to be a gym owner for the rest of my life. And so mentally, I had kind of checked out on what else was going to happen. So when this first happened, I was getting a lot of applause. I was getting a lot of attention. Like, damn, dude, like you got the golden touch here. You're killing it. And truth be told, I was laying around in sweatpants all day, going out, hanging out, drinking, I just wasn't performing to the best of my ability. And because I had money, it masked all of that. To the outside world, it looked as if this dude's killing it. And I was in a lot of ways, but I knew that this wasn't even close to my full potential. And truth be told, my wife knew it too. So I'll never forget, I'm in my driveway one day, and I hadn't read a book since I dropped out of college. And I get Audible. I download Audible just 5 years ago, the app, and I listen to Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I finished washing my truck, and and I know this is corny because everybody cites this book as being the book that kind of put them over the edge. But something about that book really just sparked something in my mind, like, damn, you could be doing so much more. And that set me down this journey of reading a book a week for a year. In fact, more than a book a week. I read 65 books in the next 12 months, and didn't just read them. I studied them, and I re-listened to them, and I took notes. I listened to them in my ear, and I read them, and I took notes. I really studied these books. It's not just about how many books you read. Of course, it's, the impact that they have on you. And over the course of this 12 months, like, I literally transformed. I was not an early riser. I always got by on just having some talent, but I was never the hardest worker in the room. And this transformation took me from just a regular dude to getting up at 4:00. I've gotten up, and that's going to sound like I'm bragging, but I'm super proud of this. I've gotten up at 4:00 almost 1,600 days in a row. So COVID, broken ribs, hangovers, you name it.
Wow.
I've been getting up at 4 o'clock almost over 4 years in a row. My wife keeps track of it here on our whiteboard. So I get up, I work out, I eat a certain way. The way that I make my decisions, the way I interact with my wife, the way I am as a son, as a father, as a friend, all of these things completely transformed. And so by the time I sat down and watched that YouTube video, which is about 11 months or so later, and saw wholesaling,
You were ready.
dude, I was a savage. You couldn't have stopped me if you wanted to. And so not everybody can take 12 months of their life and go do that. But I would argue that you reframe that mindset stuff as a revenue generating activity. So if you're just getting started, yeah, you got a cold call. Yeah, you have to text. And yeah, you got to go knock on doors like we all did. But you better simultaneously be getting your head right, because you're going to get your ass beat so bad that if you're not mentally ready, you're going to quit. And so I like to tell my students and the folks that I mentor, I don't charge anybody for anything, but I help a lot of people. I like to tell them, you've got to look at mindset work as a revenue generating activity and something that you are prioritizing, as long as you're simultaneously taking action to generate revenue. Because if you think that you're going to hate your job all day, be an asshole to your wife, be a poor father, not be good steward to the world, and you're going to flip the switch every night at 6 o'clock and become this savage real estate investor, it doesn't work that way. Until you rewire everything, you just can't do it.
Yeah, that was, I'm really happy you said that, dude, because that is the foundation, I believe, in success in life. It's first your mindset. It's your mindset first. It's your relationships. It's your physical ability, right? Your mental ability, your physical ability. If you don't work on yourself continuously and you don't get yourself to the next level, you're not going to be a great father. You're not going to be a great husband. You're not going to be any good to your kids. You're going to treat your employees like shit. You're going to be dragging ass during the day. You're going to be drinking too much, overeating, waking up too fucking late, smoking too much shit. Like, when you work on you first and you become, and you did it, man, within a year, and you were successful prior to, which is weird because you were successful, never read any books, which isn't normal. Like you're an anomaly. I can only imagine what the fuck you're going to be doing for the next 10 years with what you've done over the last 4 with working on yourself. Because, bro, if you've done what you've done with not having that personality profile or that mindset, and now you have it, like, unstoppable is what you're going to be. It's literally that important to do in your life, is to work on that mindset on a daily basis. And like you, I'm up early in the morning, treat my body like a temple, constantly feed my mind consistently. I meditate 3 times a day. Like, I do things different from the normal person out there because I want to live a completely different lifestyle. I don't want to stress. I don't want to struggle. I want to offer myself to other people. I want to be able to help. I want to be able to give back. And you can't do it if you're not optimized. And optimization starts with the body, mind, and spirit, all 3 in alignment. And then if you have those together, like, anything you want to do, literally anything you want to do, the world is your oyster. You're going to be able to go out there and just attack it and make it happen.
100% agree.
Yeah, bro. Love that you're into the personal development, man. I'm so pissed that you and I haven't really connected at CG because we've been missing each other. You haven't been there for a year and a half. You've been going virtual. I was not there prior to that because of the COVID shit. But yeah, you're definitely the type of dude I want to
We'll link up. Yeah, we'll definitely link up here in 24. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, no doubt, bro. Listen, this was, it was a 38-minute interview. You gave a lot of nuggets, Matt. Like, a ton of nuggets. Just mindset, business structure, doing the innovations online, how you got yourself, getting into this business in a 4-year time frame. If people want to reach out to you, how do they find you online?
So, interestingly enough, I'm just now starting to get into social media. So it's a little late to the game for me, but it was never my thing. But I've been doing this mentorship for these 50 guys. So I was on a podcast a few years ago, and I got hit up by a ton of kids who were looking for help, didn't have money for mentorship. A lot of them came from disadvantaged backgrounds. And basically, I started doing this free mentorship for them. So it's up to 50 guys, and I've capped it there. But basically what I did was I turned the camera on now, and I record myself on these Zoom calls with these kids for 2 hours every week. And we're going to launch a podcast around that, kind of sharing some of the nuggets that we discuss. And it's not just real estate, it's all business. But even more importantly, a lot of these guys don't have father figures. So It's around being just a better man in general. And so I've been releasing some snippets of this stuff on social media, and you can find that at my Instagram at The Real Matthew Simmons. So that's where you can find me. Hit me up. Happy to help in any way I can.
Love it, bro. You've been an inspiration. Speaking to you, I really am looking forward to seeing what happens with you over the next 10 years. You're a damn good guy, and I don't know you that well from just podcasts, but the energy you bring, the values that you bring, the attention that you're bringing to your family and yourself, like top notch, bro.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I enjoyed talking to you. As you know, your reputation in CG precedes you. You're a legend, and I knew about you as soon as I came in. So I really look forward to connecting this year.
Appreciate it, brother. Good having you on.
Thanks, Billy.
Take care.